Hello and good evening. Uh, let's jump right in. This is for artistic and educational purposes only. Um, I am studying for licensing in the occupation of stationary engineering, which primarily deals with high pressure boilers as far as for the extent of the licensing exam. And I've been going through my high pressure boiler book and my notes, and compiling a study log, somewhat, a diary. Anyway, I thought it might be useful for someone else in the field. If you do find the information useful, feel free to like, subscribe, or share. And I do list a Bitcoin Ethereum address to support my content. Upcoming Patreon, I'll be upgrading uh, when I can get a better camera, mic, etc. set up. Okay, so feed water heaters. Feed water heater is a device used to heat feed water before it enters the boiler. A feed water heater is used to improve energy efficiency by recovering waste heat that would have been lost. A feed water heater increases boiler plant efficiency when exhaust steam or waste steam is used to heat the feed water. A rule of thumb is that for every 10 degrees of Fahrenheit rise in feed water temperature, there is 1% fuel savings. So let's read that again. A rule of thumb is that for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit rise in feed water temperature, there is a 1% fuel savings. That's efficiency. A feed water heater is a device used to heat feed water before it enters the boiler. I mean, how simple can you get as to the naming of the device often describes what it is in operation for. Feed water heaters can also improve feed water quality by removing the dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide that also cause pitting and corrosion in the boiler. These gases are much less soluble in hot water than in cold water, and as the feed water heater heats the water, the dissolved gases come out of the solution and are vented out of the feed water heater. The cleaned water is sent to the boiler. The use of a feed water heater also reduces thermal shock on the boiler metal and reduces boiler metal failure by preheating the feed water to a temperature closer to that of the boiler water. In addition, a feed water heater acts as a reservoir for available feed water. The raw water entering the feed water heater contains varying degrees of scale forming salts, and at approximately 150 degrees Fahrenheit, these salts begin to settle. When a feed water heater is used, some scale caused by the salts will settle in the feed water heater rather than the boiler, and this benefits plant operations since scale is more easily removed from the feed water heater than from in the boiler. The location of feed water heaters in a system will vary depending on the type used. Feed water heaters can be located on the suction side or discharge side of the boiler feed water pump or in the breeching. They may be heated by live steam, exhaust steam, or gases of combustion. And the basic types of feed water heaters are Deaerators, open feed water heaters, and closed feed water heaters. Feed water can also be heated using economizers. The correct water level must be maintained in a feed water heater. A low water level can cause a loss of suction pressure to the feed water pump, and this results in the feed water pump running dry. A high water level can allow water to enter the steam or condensate lines and cause water hammer. The internal overflow in the feed water heater controls this condition with a float that opens only when water enters its chamber. The water raises the float, which opens a dump valve that discharges to the sewer. So let me run through that last paragraph again. The correct water level must be maintained in a feed water heater. A low water level can cause a loss of suction pressure to the feed water pump, causing the pump to deadhead. This results in the feed water pump running dry. High water level can allow water to enter steam or condensate lines and cause water hammer. Also true, internal overflow in the feed water heater controls the condition with a float that opens only when water enters its chamber. The water raises the float, which opens a dump valve that then discharges to sewer. And this information seems vaguely familiar. Hope I haven't previously covered this in a video. We'll continue with Deaerators. A deaerator is a feed water heater that operates under pressure and is used to separate oxygen and other gases from steam before releasing the gases to the atmosphere through a vent. Because a deaerator operates under pressure, the saturated temperature corresponds to the operating pressure. For example, a deaerator operating at 5 psi has a saturated temperature of 227 degrees Fahrenheit. Deaerators typically use steam to heat water, and there are two reasons deaerators are used. First, a deaerator is used to hold and preheat boiler feed water before it's pumped into the boiler water. Second, a deaerator is used to remove dissolved gases from the feed water. Dissolved oxygen and carbon dioxide are corrosive and attack the boiler metals, steam piping, and condensate return lines. Deaerators can reduce dissolved oxygen levels to as low as 5 parts per billion, greatly reducing the amount of chemical treatment required. Three basic designs of deaerators are spray, tray, and column. I am nearing, let's see if I want to go into, we're nearing 8 minutes on the video. So we talked about feed water heaters. Feed water heater is a device used to heat feed water for the boiler previous to entering the boiler. Feed water heaters improve the quality of the water. It also prevents harmful damage to the boiler, prevents explosions. Location will depend on the type used, and correct water level is very important in a feed water heater, as in a boiler. Deaerator is a feed water heater that operates under pressure and is used to separate oxygen and gases from steam before the gases are released to the atmosphere, generally through a vent. Deaerators typically use steam to heat water, and two reasons deaerators are used. First, a deaerator is used to hold and preheat boiler feed water before it is pumped into the boiler. Second, a deaerator is used to remove dissolved gases from the feed water that attack the metals, piping, and condensate return lines. So it's a preventive maintenance measure as well. And then the last but not least, three basic designs of deaerators are the spray, tray, and column deaerators. Spray, tray, and column. Spray, tray, and column. Yes, there are 3D printers in the background, but that's a whole nother video. So thanks for hanging with me. Thanks for sharing the time. Hope that you gained some knowledge or insight, or maybe enjoyed the video or my company. Until next time, and I think we'll be covering open and closed feedwater heaters in my next video. Thank you and good night.